Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the returning coordinator or Interschools coordinators meeting. It's great to have everyone on the Zoom call this afternoon. We just have a couple of housekeeping items. I think we've set everything up the right way, but sometimes we're a bit rusty with Zoom. So just a reminder to keep all microphones off and webcams off. We are recording this, and the aim is and intention is to put this onto the Interschools website for anyone that's missed it, or as an opportunity for anyone to refresh their memory of what was discussed at the meeting as they get closer to the Interschools events. We have the following schedule that we're looking to run through. To my left, we've got John Dyson, the chair of the Victorian Interschools Advisory Group, and also Dave Spears is with us as the Victorian Interschools event manager. We'll run through several items. We also have Helen Hatherley online that will join us to discuss multi-class a little bit later on in the presentation as well. So without any more, I'll hand you over to John Dyson.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you everyone for attending this afternoon. This is our second meeting, having just finished the first time Snowsports coordinators meeting just a couple of minutes ago. As Steve said, my name is John Dyson. I'm the chair of the Victorian Interschools Snowsports Advisory Group, or as we like to refer to as VISAG, and I will talk about VISAG in a few minutes. After 2 years of frustration and cancellations, it is wonderful to be talking about and planning for Interschools 2022 at Mount Buller. With snow in the air and most importantly in the weather forecast, there is no better time to be thinking about getting back on the slopes, competing and supporting our student athletes who have frustratedly missed out on 2 years of competition. I'd like to begin the meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners and the custodians on the land of which the Office of Snow Australia is located, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I also acknowledge the Tongarong people, the first people of the rivers and the mountains, who have been the owners and the custodians of Mount Buller, our host mountains, and its surrounding land and flora and fauna for tens of thousands of years, and their leaders past, present, and emerging. Like me, I'm sure that you're in awe of our Winter Olympic team and the performance at the Beijing Winter Olympics earlier this year. I was lucky enough to attend the Snow Australia Awards last week, where many of these athletic performances were acknowledged. As we tried to highlight during the Olympics, for many of these athletes, their snow sports journey started at our Interschools event. And in particular, I love this picture of Jakari Anthony competing in the Interschools moguls competition when she was in Division 5. Who would have thought that 15 years later, she would be standing at the pinnacle of our sport? A fantastic achievement. But what you can guarantee is that behind each of these athletes would have been one, if not many, hardworking and committed snow sports coordinators supporting and encouraging their student athletes. So on behalf of the sport, thank you for everything that you do to support our student athletes and assist them on their pathway and journey into snow sports. You, our snow sports coordinators, are a conduit to the student athletes, their parents, and the schools. And we thank you again for being available today and for being part of our Interschools community. We are obviously still operating under the cloud of COVID-19. It goes without saying that the safety and the well-being of our student athletes, teachers, parents and officials remain our #1 priority, and the planning for the event is seen through this lens. Our current forecasting suggests that there should be minimum COVID restrictions, but the situation remains dynamic and the hosting of the event will be subject to government restrictions and protocols at the time. Protocols will be put in place to manage any short-term team changes due to COVID. And we'll keep you obviously informed of any developments that would impact the hosting of Interschools in 2022. So a couple of comments about VISAG. So VISAG was established in 2021 following a review by Snow Australia of its committees. VISAG sits within the National Interschools and Sport Development Framework under the custodianship of Snow Australia. VISAG replaces the Victorian Interschools Snowsports Committee, VISC. And I'd like to take the opportunity now to thank all of the former members of VISC for their many years of contribution to Interschools. It was greatly appreciated. VISAG has an advisory role and provides support and advice to the sport, boiler ski lifts and the resort in the planning and delivering of Interschools. We have here listed members of VISAG. And as you can see, we have a strong representation from the schools, the sport, plus the CEO of the Mount Buller and Mount Sterling Alpine Resort Management Board and the GM of Buller Ski Lifts, as well as Dan Spees, who is actually celebrating his 10th year in hosting the event, managing the event, and of course, Steve Nelson, the National Participation and Sport Development Manager for Snow Australia. Snow Australia is currently seeking expressions of interest from snow sports coordinators, people on this call, to be part of a Victorian Snow Sports School working group, which most likely will be a group of 10 to 20 snow sports coordinators from a cross-section of schools that VISAG and BSL will be able to gauge quickly regarding feedback on particular issues in relation to hosting Interschools. The working group is based on a model that has worked very successfully for the New South Wales Interschools. We are anticipating a light workload, so if you're interested in providing feedback and suggestions for Interschools, please apply, and the information will be available on the Snow Australia website, hopefully later this week. Rule changes. Over the last 2 years, the National Interschools Rules Working Group, which includes members from the State Interschools Committees, the Sport and the Alpine Discipline Committees, have made a number of recommendations to Snow Australia regarding rule changes. These changes have all been previously shared and communicated to the Interschools community. But as we've not hosted an event for a number of years, we encourage student athletes, coordinators, team managers, and parents to refresh their understanding of the rules. And Dave, later this afternoon, will be highlighting the more significant rule changes. I'd now like to pass across to Dave, who will basically provide you with an update on Interschools 2022. Dave.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Steve. Welcome to everybody. You are school coordinators, really the central and most important piece, I would say, to the successful running of the Victorian Interschools. And thanks again for all of your commitment to organising your school communities and being able to participate in this year's Victorian Interschools, which is in over its 63rd year of operation, despite the last 2 years of missing with COVID. But we're very much looking forward to a fantastic season in 2022. Welcome to all the new coordinators as well from the previous meeting, and yeah, what a whirlwind the first new coordinator meeting was. So hopefully we were under a bit of time constraint there, so hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more gap between words in this meeting. 2019 was where we last left the Victorian Interschools with 6,852 event entries, over 3,100 individual participants, and 228 participating schools. The school coordinators, all of you, we really ask that we highly recommend subscription to the VIC Interschools e-news by your entire snow sports community. Any event-specific information in the lead up to the event, and more importantly during the event week, will be the central piece of where all the latest up-to-the-minute information will start and be disseminated from that point. So any information on a change of event site, an upcoming rule, any article, any news will come via that e-news article. And then during event times, it'll be replicated through our SMS systems and other alerts. Start lists will be made live for the cross-country event from the 21st of July, and then also from the 1st of August from the main ski and snowboard events. So what that does for you, the coordinator, is that any event entries that are in the system will be visible to anyone that logs on to the Victorian Interschools. So it really is a tool for you to put to your communities. Please check that your children are entered in the events that they believe they should be entered in, and if there is a problem, get in contact with you, the school coordinator, prior to the event entries closing on Monday the 25th of July for the cross-country events and Monday the 8th of August for the ski and snowboard event week. No late entries and changes can be made after those closure dates, and we've had some very sad instances in the past with entries that have fallen through the cracks. People thought that they were enrolled in events, they weren't. They show up on the day, and you've got some sad children. So, you know, please really ask your community to get heavily involved in checking those start lists prior to those event entry closure dates. The Snow Australia Interschools webpage has the landing drop downs for the New South Wales, ACT, Queensland, SA events, the Victorian event and the Australian Interschools event. The drop down there will have latest news, policies and important documents. So that policies and important documents page is an important one which contains lift access and entry price summaries, our important date documents, the summary interschool schedule, the event poster PDF that you can use in some of your marketing and publicity around the school. Also, the certificate of currency, risk management policies for the school, and also long-term calendars, etc., and judging guides. So, along with rules, gender diversity, previous event management reports. So that page really contains a lot of information on anything that you might want to know about what's coming up, the rules, code of conduct, etc. So the important date document that's published will give you all of those dates that we were speaking about before, about the bib and lift ticket pickups for the cross-country event, the hosting of the cross-country event, also the lift ticket ordering and closure dates on Monday the 8th of August, which is a very important day. Also the event the event schedule will have the days and divisions that each of those events will be hosted on, and is almost an identical, is an identical schedule to what we had in 2019 that had received some really positive community feedback on the way that rolled out. So there's no surprises there. Code of conduct. The conduct of competitors and spectators has been really, really great in recent years around the event sites themselves. Some serious incidents have taken place around the village with some students and the like. So we just, ask you to, reinforce with your communities that they are representing themselves and their schools throughout that event week, not just when they're out on snow, and really minimise any instances of misfortunate events that could possibly take place. New rules that were introduced over 2 years ago to reinforce for this year's, because we haven't competed with these new amendments, that race suits are not permitted in any primary school events. They are, however, permitted in events in secondary school onwards. Waxing in all disciplines, waxing of any type is prohibited in the start area or competition course arena. Fluoro wax and fluorocarbon liquid sprays are prohibited. And the Inter-School Committee advises that equipment may be subject to inspection, implemented at regional, state and national event level. Complete stop in alpine and snowboard GS, ski cross and snowboard cross. So this is an area where there has been some confusion in the past, but really the definition of a complete stop is when you're no longer moving down the hill. And once that happens, that is a DNF. For safety reasons, because if we have children hopping or hiking back up the course in a direct opposite direction to the next competitor coming through the course, obviously that isn't a safe thing to be doing. So if they have come to a complete stop and are no longer moving down the hill, that they exit the race course for their and their fellow competitors' safety. Loss of both skis. It was making sure if a competitor loses both skis, they must exit the course as soon as possible, provided the competitor does not finish the finish line. They'll record a DNF for that run. The exception in the event the competitor loses both skis after the last gate, they may cross the finish line without skis. And the loss of one ski in alpine GS and ski cross is an exemption that wasn't clearly defined in the past, but if they haven't come to a complete stop and lose only one ski and they're 2 gates from the finish, they can continue if they haven't come to a complete stop on that one ski. The Australian Interschools this year hosted at Perisher from the 6th to the 11th. This is a change from previous schedules that have been 5-day schedules to a 6-day schedule for the first time. and is likely to, well, it will remain for 2022 and 2023 onwards. The event schedule that you see here is published on the Oz Interschools drop-down tab of the Interschools landing page that we saw earlier. There is one likely change for Division 1 slopestyle ski and snowboard to move on to Thursday in that event schedule, but most of those events will be conducted as published. All of that information can be found on ozinterschools.com.au. So some changes around the resort since we last competed in 2019 is significant snowmaking investment on a standard run, which is now a priority one run at the start of the season. So all of the early school holiday period, there is a real focus on having standard open before any other southern facing run. Snow factory docking stations have been added to the top of the avenue next to Navy Ski Lodge at the top of standard, and 3 more snow factories, mobile snow factories, have been purchased at Mount Buller that will move between Burke Street, new docking stations there, docking stations here at the top of standard, and will provide amazing support for all of those key event sites. Some other new points there is a lower Boggy Creek Trail between Boggy Creek and the load of the Bonza chairlift, which means that Boggy Creek Trail can be accessed from the bottom of the Grimace summit slide area, where you can then get direct access to the bottom of the Bonza chair, which is one of our main event sites. In the past, you'd have to head back up the top to the summit and then traverse across past the dam to get back in that area. This way you can head straight from a coffee at Coffler's down through the Boggy Creek Trail directly to the bottom of Bonza to get to that event site. In part of the important documents page, we've got the event entry summary, so you can distribute these to your school communities for event entry prices and lift access and team manager lift access prices. The Mount Buller Ski and Snowboard School is back to normal operations with a full contingent of skilled international staff returning for 2022, which is fantastic news considering the international travel implications of the pandemic over the last 2 years. Many of our large schools have already booked race trial weekends and are planning feverishly for those. There's still plenty of availability for midweek trial dates if required by schools. Those midweek days, there is plenty of availability in there. Those main event weekends at the end of July are pretty much at capacity. So if you haven't already organised that type of as race trial activity, please don't hesitate to contact Buller Holidays for any of those lesson race trial inquiries. Those schools' planning and resources can be found on the Mount Buller website, where the school planner and the Buller Holidays contact numbers can be found for pre-event trips to the snow, lessons, and some preparation for the inter-school event week. I'd like to thank our partners in Carbon and XTM, and also our naming rights partner, Mogul Ski World. And for any inquiries regarding 2023 Carbon school uniform, please contact Rush Distribution, and our partner XTM for all inquiries regarding XTM gloves and accessories. Please contact them. So from a 2022 event poster perspective, there is a PDF version that is downloadable from the VIC Interschools website. And the event poster is also available for pickup here at the Snow Australia head office in the Ice House in Docklands. The majority of these posters will also be distributed to many of our schools in Melbourne over the next week or two. And any questions or inquiries, please don't hesitate to contact myself and Julie and the other event staff at info@vicinterschools.com.au. Looking forward to getting back to this in the blue skies and great conditions for racing. And again, this year we're planning nighttime events on the Friday night for our closing ceremony, also firework displays for the opening ceremony on the Monday. and very much looking forward to getting back to as much of a normal, festive, fantastic event that we've had for so many years in a row at Mount Buller this year. So multi-class events, the multi-class event started in 2013, and there's a pathway for multi-class competitors to progress from the Victorian event to the national event. The results mirror the traditional inter-school divisions. Medal presentations are part of the key evening of the presentation ceremony. Multi-class and Special Olympic divisions, which are Special Olympics or adult competitors, are conducted at the event in alpine skiing and snowboarding on the Wednesday of the event week. There's a minimum technical ability that's required, and that is just to safely stop in the finish area of the course that is set generally each year on the Bernhardt Spur event site. The focus on this is absolute inclusivity, and there is a multi-class tab on the VIC Interschools website for more information on pre-event camp and other social activity at the Interschools event. And for further information, there'll be links on that page on the website, info@multiclasssports.asn.au, for any other information there. For all of our schools, if you do have children that have some physical impairments as well that would like to take part in this event, please feel free to contact the Multi-Class Sport Association for information around that.
You might have Helen.
And and also Helen, who will be presenting in a second here. And would like to welcome Helen Hatherley, who's the president, Helen, please correct me if I'm wrong, of the Multi-Class Snowsports Association and principal of the Ashwood School. And we'd like to welcome Helen to the meeting.
Helen is also on the National Interschools Committee as well for Snowsports. Helen, great to see you.
Yeah, hello everyone, and that's a really exciting to see all those photos. Wonderfully. Everybody's looking forward to getting back there, so it was great to see those photos. Really important probably just to have a think about students and families in your schools, that this event may enable them as a whole family to be at the snow and be participating in the interschools. Eligibility is that it's open to any students with an intellectual or physical disability, and from both mainstream and specialist schools. And to be eligible, students attending a mainstream school must receive funding under the program for students with disabilities, or if they're attending a mainstream Catholic or independent school, must also receive funding which supports their specific learning need. The multi-class event was really established to provide support for people with an intellectual or physical disability to participate in skiing and snowboarding, and to train and compete in a safe and supportive environment. And we've got a great relationship with Disabled Winter Sport Australia, and we have a 3-day development camp at Mount Buller with 2 days of training on the slopes, followed by a race day. But we also have a great team dinner and a medal presentation. So as David said, please refer to the email if you've got any inquiries about having any of your students and families involved in our event. Just send us an email. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Helen. It was fantastic.
Seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, thank you, Helen. And it's been great from the sports perspective to have Helen join us this year on the National Interschools and Sport Development Committee. It's certainly a focus for us, and long overdue that we finally have sort of that role being filled by someone so actively involved in multi-class. It really is a big thing for the sport going forward. As we move back into the presentation, just sort of hoping my, there we go, yep, I'll come back here. So one of the key things that Dave's talked about is the Snow ID memberships, or the Snow ID that you have as part of being registered with sport. Feel free, Helen, if you want to turn your camera off or anything at the moment, don't feel you have to leave that on. The key thing there is that with the Snow ID membership, it's part of our annual rollover of memberships that works for Snow Australia. That will happen in the next couple of weeks, so please don't encourage all of your families to rush out right now and get this done in the next 2 days. We will be sending out renewal emails to all of the Snow ID members in the coming weeks once we've had that process of our annual membership rollover complete. It is a free membership for everyone. It's a category that is really just to have an identifiable number to link you with your participation in Snow Australia and also with the Interschools events. It also links in with how we present the live timing system and also links to a back catalogue of some of your racing and things like that. So it's intrinsically linked with your name. If Dave sort of mentioned earlier that if people need to, if they have registered multiple, please always encourage your families to come and call the office and speak with us, and our staff in here at Snow Australia can link multiple Snow IDs together so that it keeps everyone's information staying the same.
Steve, if I could jump in there. So for you, the coordinators, we have noticed there are a number of schools, and you'll see on your own participant lists on your own login, if you've got the same child listed twice with two different Snow IDs for the accuracy of live timing, live scoring, and their historical records. If you can see that there are duplicates there, mention that to those families that can then, after the middle of May, contact the sport and make sure that that data is cleaned up. We have had instances of schools' entries not being able to be loaded up because they've used a Snow ID that happens to be one of multiple IDs for that particular child. So once those renewals come out in mid-May, check your own participant lists and you'll be able to see if there's multiple entries in there from a school coordinator's perspective. Thank you.
Now on the Snow Racer website, snowracer.com.au, there is an ability to look up the Snow ID, and as a teacher, if you need to, you can go under that. The register tab up the top will take you to the page on that website, the landing page of the website. Now, when you are there, you can either find out the Snow ID of one of your students if you need to, you're caught short and the student hasn't come back to you with that information. Similarly, you can also see if that Snow ID has been reactivated or renewed for the current year, which will assist in putting your entries into the online entry system. One of the biggest issues we've sort of faced over the last few years of when we sort of got through that phase of taking entries into the entry system, for people that are using the bulk upload spreadsheet, sometimes there were some students that might not have renewed the right number, or and the teachers had a different number for them, or they had said that they'd done it but may not have been fully completed the process. So what we're trying to do this year is we're going to try and set up a test event in the entry system that would enable teachers or coordinators to put their entries in and test that they will be able to import that. Quite often we find that many schools sit there right up until the last minute because there's just so much information they're trying to collate of all their students, who's available, who's not. Have the parents been able to get accommodation? Are they fully committed to coming? That sort of thing. So what we will try and do is have this test event upload that you can test import your spreadsheets into, and that will also identify if there's any errors before you get to the last 2-3 hours of setting up your final event entries into the online system before the deadline. So that's just something that we're working on. We'll have more details about that as we get closer to the critical part of the season. Online officials course for Interschools. We launched this earlier last year. It sort of lost some of the importance because we had a few other issues that we dealt with throughout the season. However, it is something that is a great resource that is online for all the parents and volunteers that help out to make the Interschools so successful on behalf of the athletes. We encourage you to promote this again through to your parents and volunteers who will be assisting at the Interschools during the year. The key part of this is we want to take away the pressure on race day. So we want to provide an environment where officials can register well in advance of, or do the course in advance of the time that they will be on the snow. It takes away the pressure on race morning when you've got to get kids out there, you're a team manager or you're a volunteer and you've got a lot of things going on. It also means that if the environment on race day is not the perfect environment for having a briefing at the top of the race course, most of the parents will have an idea of what the various course positions are, and once they get allocated a spot, they've got at least some background of how to complete that. It's something that we would encourage everyone to do. We're not going to prevent people on race day from assisting if they haven't done the course. However, it is something that we will actively be encouraging with some wording that that we would like to see it completed by everyone who's actively getting involved with the Interschools events. We'll push that information as we get closer to the season starting and the Interschools events start occurring. But it's something to look out for, and again, it's a great resource. Once people are online, they're simply working through the modules. It doesn't take too long. I think it's about 20 minutes to get through most of this. And there's a couple of videos there that just sort of highlight correct gate passage and things like that, so that people have got an understanding of what they'll need to observe in the role on the day. Snow Ready, this is a new initiative that we've been able to produce last year. Whilst we had some time that wasn't taken up on snow, we were able to utilise one of our great Winter Olympians, a 3-time Winter Olympian, Sammy Kennedy Sim. And what we've been able to produce is 8 videos that are going to be released in the coming weeks, and they are there as a workout program to help get people ready for the next snow trip. It's not something that is essential to be able to race Interschools or participate in Interschools that people need to do this. But what we've been able to do is break down some key exercises that provide a fun dry land experience that will help everyone get ready just to get back up there, or snow ready as we like to say. We think it's an opportunity for everyone to really sort of take that next step, just to prepare. For many people, it's been nearly 3 years between having their last ski at the end of September in 2019 and getting back to the snow. For some people, they've aged. Some people have had other activities that have been a bit slower than fast skiing and enjoyable snowboarding out there, certainly at Mount Buller. So we've produced this video. Sammy's great in it, and we've got some other key friends of Sammy's that are either institute coaches or program directors, or other Winter Olympians that provide some insightful tips and advice as well in there. It's not a video that you do the workout with Sammy there and then. The workout is contained in the video with the other advice pieces as well. Each of the videos runs for about 12 minutes, and we'll provide them as a one-off, once a week launch, but we'll set up a second site that we can provide the bulk of these out, or the first maybe 4 or 5 to the schools in the first instance, so that the school teachers can see what is contained in the videos and work out if there's a way that you'd like to include it in any of your programming for your Snowsports team throughout term 2. Just a quick answer of the video, please. So that just sort of provides you a quick insight into what it is, and each of the activities and exercises we've got following a great ski tradition, the beginner, intermediate and advanced workouts that people can pursue there in their own environment. Now, sporting schools, we also have our little shredders and little gliders kits that will be available throughout term 2 and 3. Having some key issues with getting things out at the moment with that wonderful thing COVID interrupting different places around the schools and also our logistics, but we're getting through that. And Johnny Lipska in at Snow Australia is still the contact for that to book anyone looking to do that. You can also do that through sporting schools or direct through Snow Australia. So we'll have more information that will circulate through one of the upcoming EDMs to the Interschools community. That sort of brings us to the end of it. We've sort of kept it pretty fast, pretty succinct, hopefully. I'll just stop sharing the screen so I can see if we've got any questions that anyone's got out there. Otherwise, if we don't have any questions, we are happy to conclude the webinar, and certainly it's an environment that we love people ringing us up and having a chat, dropping us an email. Anything we can do to make your experience over the coming months a bit more stressless or seamless for you to assist. We're well aware that many people, this is the first time they've had to really think long and hard about getting back into snow sports over the last couple of years, despite the best efforts of everyone at Mount Buller. We just couldn't get there, but certainly from the sports side of things, we do appreciate every effort that was given by the resort and the key people involved at Mount Buller to provide an event experience, certainly last year and as best they could in 2020 as well. So from everyone here, it's and I'll hand over to John to finish up, but we really look forward to getting people back on snow. It's something that we've all missed. Certainly the people in metropolitan Melbourne over the last few years, it's something that I think for many, the moment they get up there, breathe that first breath of fresh air and take that first run from the top of the chairlift, for many people that'll be the experience that will bring you back for many, many years to come. But we look forward to that first experience for everyone again this year.
Thanks, Steve. You're really getting us excited about getting back in the slopes. So, let me join with Steve, saying that if there's anything that we can do to help you on the snow sports journey for 2022, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are here to help. We know that there's quite a large number of first-time snow sports coordinators. So, we as I said, we're here to help. We know it can be a bit of an intimidating process to log on to this entry system and enter teams, but we're here to help, and please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything that we can do. Thank you again for joining us here this afternoon. Dave, did you want to say any comments before we?
Thanks, John. Just like to thank you all for joining the call. We'll publish the documents and the recordings on the website and via e-news. And if you can, just once again, encourage everyone to subscribe to the e-news so that any information we have goes as wide and as far into our communities as possible. It'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you again for all of your efforts.
Yeah, thank you again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you on the slopes at Mount Buller in 2022. Thank you again.